We have been having so much fun, my daughter Ruby and I here on the set of Man Sewing, creating some fun tutorials for you. Hopefully you've all watched the doll quilt. Today we're going to show you how to do the bed skirt and the ruffle. Let's get started.
That's right. We showed you in the past video how to make the quilt. Here you go, Dad.
And you did a great job on that, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now we're going to show you how to make the bed and the ruffle.
Fantastic. You want to show them what's underneath?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which we just used the plastic tote bin. And then she has clothes, a doll, and she's in a blanket inside.
Isn't that fun? This was actually one of Ruby's dolls that she made using one of the Sizzix dies from it's Carrie Giddy, I believe is her name, or Kid Giddy, I know is her link there. And then the lid, and this was Natalie's idea to use the whole thing to hide our products and stuff like that as well. Step one. Find an old tote. That can be under your bed or in the closet or corner of the garage. However, that will become the bed, and make sure your doll fits on it before you do all your sewing, of course. Now, we have to find the perimeter. Do you remember how we find the perimeter to determine how much fabric we need for the top?
Yep.
That's right, because you learned it where?
In 5th grade.
I love 5th grade. Okay, so tell us how to do the perimeter.
You measure length and width, but plus width.
That's right. Okay, so we're going to measure the length around all 4 sides, and that will teach us how much we need for the ruffle itself. We'll come back to that in a second. We also want, see, I got all excited about perimeter because I was so excited about 5th grade. We also forgot to tell them, I forgot to tell them how to create this top piece. So this was actually the size of our lid plus 1.5 inches in length and 1.5 inches in width. And that gives us our seam allowance and just enough drape over the edges that our ruffles don't stick out like old spider legs or something creepy like that. So now I think we're making sense, right? Okay, so we have our top rectangle cut, number 1. Then we also had to determine, I'll be right back with this. I did take another measurement, and that was simply the measurement of this distance here. And on our tote, we needed 6 inches, and that included our seam allowance and a little bit for the bottom hem. So we technically needed about 5 inches of fabric, 6 inches cut. I realized while Ruby was working that she was getting a little burned out. I was so excited to be sewing, and I love having my kids in the studio with me that she let me do some of the sewing on this project. So this step I did while she was on a break. So I basically took 4 cuts, the length of the fabric, 44 inches long by 6 inches tall, because that's what I needed, right? So I had 4 of these, and then I joined them together as you see here, and I just joined them on the straight. It's going to get hidden in our ruffle, okay, right there. So all 4 of them are joined, and I also have this really nice double folded hem. That'll be at the bottom of the skirt. This is where we're going to sew it onto the rectangle. You're probably saying, and you should have said, wait, Dad, they don't know how much they need, right?
Right.
Because we got to tie it back together.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we did is we used Ruby's perimeter math. When you're doing ruffles, you want to usually use 1.5 to 2 times the length of the distance you're trying to travel. So let's say we needed about 90 inches to go all the way around our doll bed, our perimeter. So we made 180 inches worth of ruffle to be. That worked out perfect because it was 4 strips at 44 inches, right? And I can do the math. I know that's not quite 90 inches, but there we go. So we have enough to go basically twice around the doll bed. So here is that rectangle. This is the top of the doll bed, and here is the ruffle. The last thing I went ahead and did, though, is I joined it so it's actually an entire loop. There are no longer any loose short ends because I don't want to have to deal with joining it once it's on the quilt. So we're going to be working with our right sides together for this and a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're going to pin each corner and kind of separate out enough ruffle so that we can just ruffle as we go. So what we're going to start by doing is we're not going to use one of our seams. We're going to come over here to a corner, and because they're right sides together, let me rotate this. I know it seems a little odd, but I want my I want my hem inside touching the center of my ruffle. And I'm just going to lay this out slightly, make sure. Okay, Ruby, we are ready. We're going to put a pin here like this. Now, remember, we were talking about having about twice as much ruffle as length. So then we can do this. We can just take this down here and fold it down to the end, like this, and I'm just going to pinch this part. This part right here, we now can assume somewhere in here can be that next corner. And what I'm really doing here is I'm trying to even out the ruffle to be over the doll bed so that I don't end up coming up with too much ruffle in one location and not enough in another. So we're going to work through these corners the same way here. Rotate that around. So Ruby, why did we use this fun green polka dot?
Because it matched our quilt.
That's right. And it was one of our other favorite prints that we really liked, right? A lot of times when we're working with ruffles and things, though, it's fun to have a print that's a little bit bigger and it says its name so we can see these dots even in the ruffling. So that was something I encouraged her when she was choosing which of her other favorite fabrics to use. I was encouraging her to use a little bit larger print so that the ruffle will really show up nice. Okay, I'm going to need your hands. Will you help hold that for me? Okay, wonderful. And again, I'm just doubling my ruffle, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be somewhat loose. Bringing that down here. Okay, so there's that point again. That's pinned into here. And then we have, just to double check, let's move this around a little bit. Here, and we should have roughly double. Looks like it worked out pretty nice. Now, what we're going to do next, like I said, with our 1/4" seam allowance, we're going to begin stitching these together. Now, this is not necessarily a beginner style of sewing. So it is very simple, but I would encourage you all to do this as maybe a team if you're working with a beginner. So what we're going to do now, just for ease, I'm coming up here and I'm basically kind of finding the center of where my ruffle is going to be. You could have started at a corner as well, but this is going to be easier for us, the two of us, to work together on. So I've got that center. We're coming right under here. I've also put an edge guide on the machine, and whenever I'm working with a beginning stitcher, an edge guide, an apparatus like this here, really helps us only have to focus on pushing the fabric over and not worrying about our seams traveling. What we're going to do now, and I'm sorry I haven't given you much chance to speak here, I just felt like maybe the coffee just kicked in. Ruby's going to start to sew, and she's going to sew about 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inches, and then we're going to make a ruffle. So you go ahead and start. And let's go ahead and stop right there. Now what we like to do, can you lift up the presser foot for me? And so she's lifting up the presser foot, and I'm going to fold in a ruffle, and that ruffle is almost 1 inch thick as well. If you've never ever done this kind of sewing, you might want to practice on a little scrap or two as you're working, just to get the feel for it. Okay, so I've made the fold. And then she'll stop again. So basically right after she came off of that fold, we stop again. And if you lift the presser foot, I'll do this part. So you can see how nicely it is when you're working as a team. And I'm folding that fold back until that fold hits the needle. Thanks. You got it. Of course, you know what you're doing, don't you? Mm-hmm. Okay. She's lining up the edges for extreme accuracy. Focus. I love it. Okay, you want to try this fold on your own?
Is that good?
It's great. You did perfect.
Okay.
You've got it. Yep, you had it.
Just one layer, right?
Well, it's actually 2 layers.
Okay.
That's what feels weird. Because it's the layer that goes underneath.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so now you're sewing on technically like 3 layers, right? So you can go ahead and stitch that one, and then we'll show them how it looks on the whole finished project.
It just came out.
That's okay. Those things happen. If you were really concerned that this seemed like maybe you were working with a really young child or just a lot for their hands, you could take and pre-do this all with pins if you wanted to. I like to teach people how to be creative and sew on the fly, so to speak. And with that, I like this method. But anything that works for you for creating your ruffles. Oh, you're doing terrific. That's great.
And you're going to keep on doing that all the way around your rectangle.
That's perfect. Okay, should we show them the finished project?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's all done. Did you find when we were doing the first one that the corners were very tricky?
Not really.
No, there's basically we did them just the same. I don't remember them being even challenging at all. You can see on the back side here, that I basically just took and folded at the corner and just kept on going. I wouldn't sew over the pin. If you get a chance and you have that pin there, I would be careful with that. Is there any other tips that you would like to offer for them? Something that I'm forgetting maybe?
No, I think it's
Feels
good.
like it's great?
Yeah.
Okay, well then check this out. Let's get our doll bed all ready to rock and roll back. So we've got our tote, and you can certainly fill that up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here. And there it is. And it hangs so beautifully and nicely.
Yes.
Oh, what a wonderful day I've had sewing. Ruby, you have done such a great job. I, as always, am so proud of you. Thank you not only for being on Man Sewing, but for being my daughter.
You're welcome.
Your mom and I love you. Thank you very much. Why don't you sign us off today?
What do I say? We'll see you next time on
Man
Sewing.
Sewing. Oh, I think we nailed it, don't you?
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely.